Ever feel it? Those like big life events like confessions, funerals, weddings, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like they deserve more than just like a surface level response.
totally.
You know what I
Like
mean?
they're begging for a deeper dive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this deep dive into Søren Kierkegaard's 3 discourses on imagined occasions is so fascinating.
Yeah, these are great.
You sent us this podcast episode about it, and it really sparked your curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And Kierkegaard basically uses these like imagined scenarios, a confession, a graveside, a wedding, to explore how we confront these like huge universal themes like self-awareness, mortality, commitment.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting is that he starts with on the occasion of a confession, but he's not limiting himself to like the religious kind of confession.
Right.
He's talking about any moment when you're like really forced to face yourself, like warts and all.
Okay, so unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
What does that actually look like in like practical terms?
Well, I think it's about acknowledging those parts of yourself that you don't like, the shortcomings, the things you maybe try to hide from other people or even from yourself,
Right.
and then seeking reconciliation.
Mm.
Not even necessarily with like a higher power or anything like that, but with maybe people that you've wronged or even just with yourself.
Right.
It's about coming to terms with like all of who you are.
It's funny because you hear so much about authenticity these days.
Oh, yeah.
But it's often presented as this like curated, Instagram-worthy version of ourselves.
Right.
Kierkegaard's idea of authenticity seems so much more raw and honestly more challenging.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not talking about self-promotion. He's talking about self-examination.
Right.
He's saying that real strength comes from confronting those like uncomfortable truths about ourselves and taking ownership of them.
And that actually leads perfectly into the next discourse.
Yeah.
At a graveside.
Yeah.
It's about contemplating death.
Right.
But the podcast episode that we got from you made a really good point. Like, it's not supposed to be morbid or depressing.
Right.
It's about recognizing that life is finite and using that knowledge to live more fully now.
And that's where the power is, I think. If we can really grasp our own mortality, not in like a fear-based way,
Right.
but just as like a simple fact of existence,
Yeah.
it can actually be incredibly liberating.
It forces us to ask ourselves, what truly matters in this life?
Totally.
Like, what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind?
Yeah.
How can I make each day count?
Exactly.
Those are questions that I think we all wrestle with.
Oh, absolutely. Whether we realize it or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And then with this understanding of like life's fragility in mind, he moves on to on the occasion of a wedding,
Yeah.
which at first glance might seem like a total shift in gears.
It does.
Yeah.
But I think it actually flows really beautifully from that previous discourse because once you've kind of acknowledged your own mortality and like the preciousness of time, the question of commitment takes on a whole new weight.
It does. And Kierkegaard really elevates marriage beyond just like a social contract.
Yeah.
He sees it as the spiritual journey of growth and love.
Exactly.
And that's so counter to how we often view relationships today, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, in a world of dating apps and instant gratification,
Right.
Kierkegaard's view of commitment as this profound lifelong journey can feel almost radical.
Absolutely. It's a call to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It's about choosing depth over these fleeting connections.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that true love requires effort and patience and a willingness to grow alongside your partner.
As we're talking about all this, I'm struck by just how relevant these imagined occasions are to our lives right now.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we live in a culture of distraction.
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with information.
Right.
Self-reflection is like a rare luxury these days.
It really is.
It's so easy to get caught up in the noise and lose sight of what truly matters.
And I think that's exactly why Kierkegaard's ideas are so important for us to like wrestle with.
Yeah.
So let's kind of bring this back to you, the listener. Where in your life are you maybe avoiding that self-reflection?
Mm-hmm.
What uncomfortable truths might you be pushing aside?
Right.
And how can kind of embracing the reality of your own mortality, not in a morbid way, but as like a source of inspiration?
Yeah.
How can that help you live more intentionally starting today?
That's such a powerful question to sit with.
It is.
It's like Kierkegaard is giving us this roadmap to living a more meaningful life, even amidst all the chaos of like the modern world.
He is. He's reminding us to embrace our vulnerability, to seek genuine connection, and to really make choices that align with our values.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought to ponder. Which of these imagined occasions resonates with you the most right now?
Mm-hmm.
And what's one small step you could take today? Even something tiny that's inspired by that discourse.
I love that. That's great.
I think that's a good place to leave it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course.